Andrew here and welcome back to Hospo Health. Today I want to talk about hydration. I often get asked how much water we need to drink. The reality is it's very individual and it's also very much dependent on the environment that you find yourself in. First of all, it's one of these things where if you are a very large person with lots of muscle mass, you're carrying a lot more water than someone who's much smaller. So that person is going to need a lot more water from the start. But the bigger variant is the environment that you find yourself in. So in the hospitality industry, we often find ourselves working in hot environments and often moving around a lot. People in that environment need a lot more water, and it's something you need to be onto from the start. Although your body is responsive and will tell you when you're getting thirsty, sometimes will come at a point where, particularly when your activity is constant and ongoing, is that you won't be able to catch up with that water that you've lost already. So it's important to be thinking about getting enough water in before you start your shift, and also having a routine to be able to make sure you're getting enough water while you're working. People also will come to me and ask, well, should I be having electrolytes and what other drinks should I be having throughout the day if I'm working in my busy job as well? The reality is, even though when we're sweating, and maybe you can taste the sweat sometimes, it's a little bit salty, you think I must be losing salt. The reality is the vast majority of what you're losing is actually water. So there's not a great need, unless you're doing extremely intense exercise over long durations, to put any kind of supplement or electrolyte into your water. So for the vast majority of our jobs that we do, water will be absolutely fine. And it's just about making sure you keep that up on a regular basis throughout the shift. Because water's not only providing you hydration, it's also working as a coolant as well. So it's actually going to be helping to keep your body cooler and functioning better at the same time. Then people will also ask me questions around sports drinks and things like that. The reality is sports drinks, although they have the electrolytes and things in it, which I just said we don't really need too much, not only that, but they are way too sweet as well. They have way too much glucose in them. We don't need that much glucose, again, unless we're doing really extreme exercise. And even then, most of the sports drinks are way too sweet. So it's better to avoid those drinks, try and stick to water, and basically you'll get the electrolytes you need from the regular foods that you eat. The other things I would like to talk about as far as hydration is concerned is what other people actually, other types of drinks that we actually consume, and the other ones that will bring us unstuck at times. So firstly, I'd like to talk about caffeine, because often it's used to kind of give us a bit of a pick up and get us going. But unfortunately, caffeine has the effect, particularly large amounts of caffeine, of dragging water out of our body. So you'll end up passing more water than you actually take in, which has a net effect of dehydrating us, which is obviously the last thing we want. And alcohol has this same effect. Alcohol again will draw water out of your cells and drag it out, and then you'll pass it, and again you'll lose more fluid than you take in. So this is again the last thing we want to do, and particularly at the end of shifts, which is such a common thing when people will knock off and have a couple of beers afterwards. Well, you might think you're doing yourself a service of hydrating yourself, but of course you're not. It's actually having the opposite effect of dehydrating you, and therefore setting you up for more dehydration, potentially during the night when you need to be recovering. You'll be in a dehydrated state and not actually getting a good night's sleep. It will be affecting your quality of your sleep as well. And again, you'll wake up feeling even more dehydrated the next day, and then really playing catch up from there. So these are big ones. People talk about things like tea. Actually, tea is actually far less caffeine, and it tends not to be as much of a problem. So absolutely, if you find water by itself kind of unpalatable, then drinking something like a tea, particularly herbal teas, is actually a really good idea. They work really well as to hydrate you. So those things can be a really good option, or even just squeezing some lemon or lime into some water, or something to make it taste a bit nicer. It might be a way of making sure you get enough water. But what I want you to take away from this more than anything else is to firstly just evaluate yourself, and also evaluate the environment which you find yourself in, and then be able to up and down regulate your water from there. The other thing I'd like to talk about briefly is, this is something that's often mentioned in the media, is actually the colour of your urine might be a great way of knowing whether you're hydrated or not. This has been around for a long time. Recent studies show that it's actually not the accurate way of actually measuring whether you're hydrated or not. There's lots of different factors that may change the colour of your urine, so that's probably not the best way of going. Again, this is an awareness thing. It's about actually understanding how much fluid you normally pass, and then knowing that that's about where you should be, and then being able to go from there. So if you're not passing as much, that's a better kind of a point to know that you're not drinking enough water as opposed to too much. And again, when you start peeing more, then you know you've probably had either too much caffeine or too much alcohol for what your body can handle, and then it's going to have that same diuretic effect. So I hope that there's some good tips there for you that you can put straight into your life and that can really help your performance both at work and at home. Thank you.